Hey y'all, welcome back to your mat. Want to know a not so fun fact? About 80% of Americans will deal with low back pain at some point in their lives. Want to know a fun fact? Many people are receiving relief through the practice of yoga. Today's class is a gentle, slow flow, all about relieving low back pain, mid back pain, upper back pain, the whole thing. So, props that you may want for this class: a yoga block, foam or cork works great. A strap. If you don't have a strap, you can use a belt, a scarf, or a dog leash, even a rolled up towel. And you may also want to have a blanket somewhere nearby. So gather up all your props, press pause if you need to, and meet me back here when you're ready. All right, so we're going to get started on our backs today. Grab your strap so that you have it nearby and come all the way down onto your back. Let's start with our knees bent. And if you like, you can take the feet wide and let the knees rest in against each other. You can rest the hands on the floor, hands on the belly, whatever feels comfortable for you. And we're just going to take a few moments to connect with your breath. So get comfy, make sure your low back is nice and long on the floor. It's okay if there's a little gap between your low back and the mat. Close your eyes if you feel comfortable, or just soften your gaze. And start to take some slow, deep inhales and exhales through the nose. Allow your chest and belly to rise as you breathe in and fall as you breathe out. See if you can lengthen your inhales and exhales to the count of 3 or 4. And try to make them equal in length to one another. Each time you exhale, allow your body to soften. Start to release tension out of the legs and hips. Soften the belly and the torso. Relax your shoulders, neck, jaw, and face. Each time you exhale, releasing a little bit more tension. Allowing yourself to be present here in this moment, setting aside anything that may be on your mind, just for a little while. Arriving here on your mat, focusing on the breath, and giving the mind permission to be quiet, knowing that everything you need to think about will be there when you're finished with your practice. When you're ready, slowly begin to blink the eyes open and grab that strap that's hopefully nearby. We're going to start with the left leg. So go ahead and lift that left leg up and wrap the strap or whatever prop you're using around the bottom of your foot. This right leg can stay bent with the foot flat on the floor, or you can extend the right leg long, whichever you prefer. You may feel a stronger sensation if that right leg is straight out. So for this pose, we're going to start with stretching the hamstrings. So take a strap in either hand and be careful not to really put tension into your shoulders by reaching high up on the strap. Reach as high as you can while letting the shoulders remain relaxed down on the ground. You can have a significant bend in your knee, especially if you have tight hamstrings. So adjust the bend of your knee to make sure that you're not overstretching. And once you've found the sweet spot where you feel sensation but not pain, take 3 deep inhales and exhales. You may be wondering, why are we stretching the hamstrings? Isn't this a low back class? Well, a lot of low back pain can be connected to tight hamstrings because if our hamstrings are tight, it's pulling our pelvis out of alignment and likely pulling our pelvis down. And that misalignment in the pelvis can actually cause some of your low back pain. So I'm incorporating some hamstring release into this class. All right, let's switch sides. So go ahead and bring that left leg down, step your right foot in and your left foot out. Again, you can have that left leg bent or straight, long on the mat. And then bring that right leg up, walking your hands up on the strap as high as you can comfortably get without placing any unneeded tension in your shoulders. And same thing here. Play with the bend of your knee until you find that sweet spot. Feels like a good stretch, but you're not starting to panic because you've maybe pushed too far. And then when you found it, take 3 deep breaths. On your next exhale, slowly release that right foot back down to the ground, and you can set the strap off to the side for now. Take your feet as wide as your mat, and we're going to take some windshield wipers with the knees. So let the knees come over to the left, keeping the feet where they are, and then sweep the legs over to the right. And then we're just going to go back and forth, back and forth at your own pace. Just getting some gentle stretching into the low back, into the obliques in the core. Making your range of motion whatever you need it to be. The knees don't have to come all the way down to the ground. Take 1 or 2 more, and then make your way back to center. Now we're going to come up to seated, so you can either bring the knees into the chest and start to rock and roll up, using your momentum to start to rock up to seated, or if that doesn't feel good in your body, just roll to one side and press yourself up. And we'll meet in our seated position and then transition through into tabletop. So, shoulders over wrists, hips over knees. Find your long neutral spine. Draw the belly gently in to protect the low back. And we're going to take some slow cat-cows. So on your inhale, start to lift the sit bones up towards the ceiling, melting the belly down towards the floor. Take the gaze slightly forward in front of your mat and reach the heart forward through the upper arms. On your exhale, slowly begin to ripple through the spine. So start with the tailbone, lengthening the tailbone down, move into the low back, mid-back, and upper back to slowly bring yourself into cat pose with a rounded spine, chin into chest, tailbones lengthening down. On your inhale, start with the tailbone, rippling through the spine to slowly come back into that cow pose. On your exhale, same thing. Reverse the slow ocean-like movement to come back into cat pose, rounding through the spine. Let's take 2 more slow rounds. So inhale, lift the sit bones, lift the tailbone, slowly come into that arching C shape with the spine, and then exhale to slowly move back into that cat shape. Trying to do it 1 vertebrae at a time if you can. Inhale, 1 more cow, moving nice and slow. Taking your time, and exhale, making your way to cat pose. When you're ready, come back to that neutral tabletop position with a long spine, and we're going to transition to downward facing dog. So spread your fingers wide, really root down through the palms and the base of each finger. Tuck your toes under, send your hips back towards your heels, and then begin to lift the knees up off the ground, lifting the hips high to the sky to come to downward facing dog. Now here, it's not about straightening the legs. Instead, it's about finding a long spine. So go ahead and bend your knees, bring your belly towards your thighs, and see if you can create even more length through your spine. The top of your head is reaching down towards your mat, and the tailbone is lifting high towards the sky. Hug the top of your arm bones into your shoulder sockets and press your palms down. Take 2 more deep breaths here in downward facing dog. See if you can find even more length in the spine, creating space between each of your vertebrae. On your next inhale, bend your knees, take the gaze forward towards the hands, and then we're going to slowly take a walk up to the top of your mat. So little steps, bringing the feet towards the hands, and we're going to come into a standing forward fold. So bend those knees, drape the upper body over the legs, let your head hang heavy like a bowling ball. And then we're going to transition to a half lift. So on your inhale, slide your hands up onto your shins, knees, or thighs, and bring your spine parallel to the ceiling. Find length in the spine by sending the tailbone backwards and the top of your head forwards. And we're going to repeat this 4 more times. So exhale, slide the hands back down, bend your knees, let the head hang heavy. Inhale, slide the hands up, half lift. Good. Exhale, bend the knees, fold over the legs, draping the spine. Inhale, half lift. Draw the shoulder blades in and down the back body. Exhale, fold over. Inhale, half lift. Reach the heart forward. Find length in the spine. 1 more time. Exhale. Inhale, half lift. This time we're going to exhale to fold over the legs. You're going to take the hands down to your mat, plant the palms, spread the fingers wide, and then step back to plank pose. So step 1 leg back into a lunge, step the second leg back to plank. Lower the knees down to the ground, and we're going to slowly bend the elbows, keeping the core tight to lower the body all the way down to the mat. And then we're going to come into cobra pose. So take your hands underneath your shoulders, move that out of the way, and then we're going to slowly peel the chest up off the mat, pressing the tops of the feet, tops of the thighs into the floor. Now, if you want to take it even further, you can progress beyond a baby cobra by pressing into the hands and starting to lift the chest and belly up off the mat. Keep in mind, you don't have to come all the way up. You can find somewhere in between that feels good in your body. Breathe here. Broaden through the collarbones. Engage the quads. Draw the shoulders down. 1 more breath. And then exhale to bring the belly back down. So this next sequence is actually going to be a little bit of a low back strengthening exercise. So some of our low back pain comes from low back weakness. So we need to make sure that we're building strength in the muscles surrounding the low back. So go ahead and bring your forehead all the way down to the mat. You can also bring it onto a block if that's more comfortable for you. And then you're going to take your hands onto your low back, right about where your sacrum is. Find length in your spine. Get nice and long down on the floor. Now, if you want to take a peek up at the screen so you can see what I'm doing, feel free to look the first time, and then you should be able to continue from there. So on your inhale, we're going to start by sweeping the left arm out, around, and forward, reaching through the fingertips. And at the same time, you're going to lift the right leg up into the air. It doesn't have to be far, just far enough to you start to feel an engagement in the low back, maybe in the glute. So you want to lift the chest slightly up off the floor, keep the neck neutral and long, and then on your exhale, slowly bring it back down to your starting point. And then we're going to switch sides. So now the right arm is going to sweep out, around, and up, reaching forward through the fingertips. Lift the left leg up and hold here just for a moment, finding length in the spine, reaching through the toes, reaching forward through the fingertips. On your next exhale, bring it back down
to starting point, hands on your low back. So let's do 5 more rounds of that. So inhale, left arm, right leg lifts. Exhale, release it back down. Inhale, right arm, left leg lifts. Exhale, release it back down. Left arm, right leg, inhale. Exhale, release it back down to the floor. Inhale, right arm, left leg, point through the toes, reach through the fingertips. Engage the core, and then exhale to set it back down. 2 more rounds. Left arm, right leg lifts. Inhale, heel the chest up. Exhale, lower back down. Inhale, right arm, left leg. Nice and long through the body. Press the belly down into the floor. Exhale to bring it back down. Last time. Inhale, left arm, right leg. Really reach. Engage the core. Exhale to bring it back down. Last one. Right arm, left leg. Lift and reach. Breathe and exhale all the way down. Great job. Take the hands underneath the forehead, and we're just going to take a moment to let the spine neutralize and make sure the muscles of the low back are able to relax. Notice if you feel a warmth in your low back. That's a really targeted therapeutic exercise, and it's specifically working on the muscles of the low back. So just observe how that feels for you. Take one more breath here in this resting pose, and then we're going to transition to Sphinx. So you're going to take the elbows and place them underneath the shoulders, coming up onto the forearms and making the forearms parallel to each other. Now, draw the shoulders down and back, and you're going to come into this gentle back bend. Now, if this is too intense, no worries, just slide the arms forward so that the elbows are in front of the shoulders. And this will decrease the intensity of the pose. So find what works for you. Find what feels good. Open up through the chest. Reach the heart forward. Keep pressing into the tops of the feet, tops of the thighs, to keep the engagement through the core and the quads. One more breath here in Sphinx. And then exhale to come down. Take your hands underneath your shoulders, press up to tabletop, and then we're going to transition to child's pose. So take the knees wide, big toes come together. If you need a blanket under your knees, go ahead and shift your blanket underneath your knees, and then sit the hips back towards the heels, reaching the arms forward, bringing the forehead down to the mat or down onto a block if your forehead doesn't reach the mat comfortably. Let your hips sink down towards the floor. Breathe in. As you exhale, imagine that you can soften the area of your low back. Inhale, fill the lungs. Exhale, soften. Allow the hips to become just a little bit heavier. Three more breaths. On your next inhale, start to walk the hands back in towards the knees, and we're going to transition through to seated. All right, so we're going to come into one of my favorite twists called Lord of the Half Fishes pose. So the way we're going to start is that you're going to extend your legs forward into staff pose or Dandasana. Take your right knee, bend it, and take your right foot across the left thigh. So this is one variation that you can do if the full variation of half Lord of the Fishes doesn't work for you. So you can stay here with the left leg extended and feel free to not take the progression if you feel more comfortable here. To come into the full pose, you're going to bend that left knee and bring your left heel next to your right seat. Okay, so you're kind of tucking that left heel in
towards the right side of your bum. All right, so this is kind of what it looks like. Make sure you make any adjustments to make your body comfortable. Again, if you need to take that left leg straight out, definitely feel like you can do that. So now we're going to come into the twisting portion. We have our legs set up. You're going to use your torso to make the twist. So our hips are going to stay stationary. You're going to draw the navel in and start to twist to the right. So you're twisting towards that right thigh. You can take the arm, the left arm, to the outside of the right thigh, elbow bent, elbow straight, or you can just take the hand to the outside of the right knee to help you make that twisting motion. So find what variation works best for you. The right hand is back behind you, resting on the floor. Deep breaths. Even though you're in a twist, we really want to be breathing deep here. This pose is a great stretch for the outer hips as well as the low back muscles. Great job. Let's come back to center, and then we're going to reset in that staff pose. So extend the legs out long, and we're going to switch it to the other side. So this time the left knee is going to bend, bringing that left foot over the right thigh. And then option to stay here or bend that right knee and tuck the the right heel in towards the left side of your bum, like so. Make sure that the left foot is flat down on the floor and you're really pressing into the big toe side of that foot. So this time we're twisting to the left. So you can take the right hand to the outside of the knee, or you can take that right arm all the way across, bringing the left hand behind to support you down on the floor. Inhale to get tall through the spine, and exhale to draw the navel in and twist to the left. Really get long through the spine here, lifting the top of your head up towards the ceiling. Deep breaths in. Feel your ribs expand. One more breath. And then inhale to make your way back to center. Slowly unwind the legs, and we'll reset back in that Dandasana or staff pose. Now the next pose we're going to do is a yin seated forward fold. So if you have really tight hamstrings, this might be a great opportunity to use your blanket. You'll want to use your blanket and roll it up into kind of a burrito that you can place under your legs. This will provide a little bit of an extra bend in your knees so that your legs can be nice and relaxed and your hamstrings aren't going to be pulling. Instead, you'll get the stretch mostly through your back, okay? No need to use the blanket if you don't feel like you want it, but we're going to let the legs be passive here in this pose. So normally when we're doing the seated forward fold, our legs are nice and active, our feet are flexed. This one, let them flop, okay? No big deal. You don't have to do anything special. I'm going to use the blanket under my knees, and then oftentimes in these seated forward folds, we're worried about the neutral spine. We don't want to round the spine and reach towards the feet. But this time, I just want you to let your spine round over the thighs, okay? So take your hands, place them on the outside of your legs, palms face up, so that you're not trying to pull yourself forward with your hands. Instead, we want to let gravity do the work. So let your chin drop down towards your chest. And we're going to be in this yin seated forward fold for a few minutes. So notice where you feel the stretch at first. You may immediately feel it in your neck. And you're like, I don't feel this in my low back at all. That's normal. You might feel it in between your shoulder blades the most right now. That's normal too. Wherever you feel the stretch, it's normal. So what's going to happen over these next few minutes is that we're going to breathe nice and slow. We're going to let the head hang heavy. And then the back chain of the body is going to slowly start to open up. Right now, where you feel the most sensation is probably the area where the fascia is the most tight.
So you may start to feel a burning sensation. You may actually become fairly uncomfortable. Try to breathe through it. Send your breath to that area where you feel that tightness or that burning. Breathe into it. If you need to back out, you can back out. But if you can tolerate it, let the gravity do its work. As you breathe, and as you're patient, you may feel the stretch begin to shift. You may notice the sensation is beginning to trickle down your back. Or it might still be in the same location. Either way is normal. Take some nice, deep breaths. Inhale, exhale. Keep breathing. Lean into the sensation. Notice what's happening now. Has the stretch stayed the same, or has it changed? Have you been able to fold more deeply? Or are you still in the same spot? Either way is right. Either way is normal. About another 30 seconds. As we transition out, we're going to move really slowly. So flip the hands, palms down, and slowly, slowly, slowly start to walk the hands in towards the hips, letting the head stay heavy. And then finally, bringing the head up. Take a moment here to breathe, to observe. Notice how your back is feeling. And when you're ready, we're going to transition back onto our backs. You'll want your block for this last little section. So grab your foam or cork block. If you don't have one, that's okay, no worries, you can do it without. And then slowly come down onto your back. So we're going to come into supported bridge pose. So take your block on the lowest setting, so it's shortest height. Bring your heels in and press into your feet to lift your hips up and slide the block underneath your sacrum and your seat. And then set it back down. Get comfy, make any adjustments. You can have your arms relaxed out at your sides, feet flat on the floor. Notice how this feels for you. If you're wanting a little bit of a deeper experience, you can take the block up to the second height, so the medium setting. So press the feet down, lift the hips up, flip the block onto the long setting, and then set the hips back down, making sure it's adjusted so that the block is underneath your sacrum.
or that triangular wedge in between your hip bones. See how this feels? If it's a little bit too intense, go back to that first height setting on the block. If you're comfortable, just relax. Let your hips rest on the block. Let them be supported by the block. And breathe. Option to stay here, or option to lift the legs towards the ceiling for a version of legs up the wall. Now, if you're on the medium height setting, you may want to transition back down to the lowest height setting so that you feel like you're nice and secure. Start by lifting one leg up and then the other leg up. It's kind of like legs up the wall, just with your seat on a block and no wall. But you'll still get the wonderful effects of the inversion. Breathe here. If it doesn't feel good for you, just come back to the supported bridge. It's fine. On your next exhale, bend one knee, set the foot back down, bend the other knee, take the foot back down to the floor. Press into the feet to lift the hips slightly up, enough for you to slide the block out from under you, and set the seat back down on the floor. Take a breath. Let the low back neutralize. And then we're going to come into our next to last pose, Apanasana, or knees to chest pose. So bring one knee in towards the chest and then the other, and then give yourself a little hug, a little squeeze, drawing the thighs in toward the belly. Still taking slow, deep breaths. If you feel like you maybe want to curl into a little ball and bring your head in towards your knees, you can. That's optional. You can just stay with the head down on the mat if that feels better for you. And then we'll all come back down. And we're going to come into our final pose, our Shavasana. If you'd like a pillow or the rolled up blanket under your knees, go ahead and grab it. If you like your legs long, go ahead and take them out long. Heels wider than the hips. Arms out at your sides, palms face up, palms face down, hands resting on the belly, whatever feels best for you. Take a deep breath in. As you exhale, let the breath exit through the mouth. So sigh it out. 2 more like that. Deep inhale through the nose. Exhale, release the breath out of the mouth. Let the body get heavy. Inhale through the nose. Exhale, sigh it out. Relax the shoulders, soften the belly. Let the body become really heavy down on the floor. Make any adjustments you need to be as comfortable as possible. Maybe covering up with a blanket if it's cool in your room. Maybe taking off your glasses. Maybe placing an eye pillow over your eyes. Whatever's going to make this experience really special for you. Really relaxing, really nourishing.
Let the breath be easy and normal, effortless. Allow your body to be relaxed. If your mind tries to present you with any information, that's normal. Just say thank you, and I'll get to it later. And then come back into the present moment, the present breath. On your next inhale, begin to deepen the breath into the body, making small wiggles in the fingers and the toes. As you feel ready, bending one knee and then the other to roll to one side, to rest in the fetal position. Slowly begin to press yourself up into a comfortable seat. Hands resting, palms face up on the knees. Let the eyes stay closed or soften the gaze down toward the floor. Take an opportunity to observe the body. Observe the area of your back. Notice how you're feeling. And finally, bringing the hands together in prayer at heart center. Taking a deep breath in and deep breath out. Sending you so much love from my heart to yours. Namaste. Thank you so much for practicing with me, for coming to your mat, and for pressing play today. Let me know how you're feeling in your feedback. How was this class for you? How's your back feeling? And if you're practicing and you're on Instagram, make sure you tag me at the Military Yogi so I can celebrate your practice with you. So much love, and I'll see you next time.